Did you see the Shein? Is it Shein?
Shein?
Like you know what Temu is?
Yeah.
Do we call it Temu or Temu?
Temu. I'm going to agree in Temu, I think.
I would say it's Temu. But then there's the other one called Shein, is it? Or Shein?
Shein.
Shein?
Shine?
Shein. You know which one?
Yeah.
They're both like the knockoff stores.
Yeah, the biggest buy a t-shirt for 50 cents.
Yeah, literally. They're both suing each other for copyright.
Over each other?
Over each other, yeah, because they're both basically saying, I saw it like over the weekend, was that they're saying that the other's copied the other, but in regards to some photos that they've done. And I was thinking, that's so, the irony of that is that both of those platforms just rip off other brands anyway.
Yeah. Pull up the Spider-Man meme though.
Literally. You go on Temu to get a knockoff of something. You go on Shein, or however you say it, to get another knockoff of something. But the two knockoff companies are suing each other for basically knocking each other off. It's crazy.
Well, how much? Do we know the details yet? Or?
It doesn't say how much it is, but apparently I was reading into it and it says that they're suing each other like all over the world. Like this one's in the High Court in London for 2026, but apparently they're doing it all over US and other countries as well.
Wow.
But I thought that's so like, people talk about people in glass houses.
Yeah, maybe it's a common strategy for both of them to grow bigger. I don't know.
No, I always think it's quite interesting when you see these big brands suing each other, because you kind of live in a world where you only see them exposed on the shelf in the supermarket, and
you never see the person behind the brand.
Yeah, you realize they're just businesses that are dealing with business problems all the time. It's like, do you see that one with Ryanair?
No.
So Ryanair have actually come out, and they're in the process of doing civil proceedings, or like suing someone, because someone got on their flight from Dublin or somewhere in Ireland, and they were obviously had far too much to drink, and they caused that much of a scene on the airplane that they had to divert to Porto in Portugal.
Whoa.
Yeah, crazy. So it's all over their Ryanair's social media at the minute. But what Ryanair is saying, I fully agree with them. Ryanair is saying that they shouldn't have to pay for all of the things that they had to pay for. So like people's extra flights, extra crew, extra fuel, all of the living accommodation for everyone who got diverted. So the whole plane got diverted to Portugal.
That's going to be a big budget. They're going to sue this person for how much?
Well, at the minute it says it's at 15,000, but the legal fees are going to be at least that, I imagine. But I completely agree with it. Yeah. I think this one person got absolutely shit-faced.
Yeah, on their own account. Like they decided to fully do this, fully send it, and then they affected all other people going on holidays.
Yeah, and they've affected all these people, and Ryanair have gone, why should we pick up the bill? So and off the back of it, they've like started to call for.
Oh right, so the people on that flight are suing Ryanair, and Ryanair kind of went like.
No, Ryanair are basically, because they've been diverted to somewhere that wasn't. It was on its court. It was supposed to go to Lanzarote, but they had to divert to Portugal. So because obviously everyone's arrived in Portugal, like, well, I'm supposed to be in Lanzarote. That's where my hotel is. Ryanair's had to pay for all of these people to stay overnight in a hotel until the new plane comes. So that they're going, well, we're not paying for this because you got drunk on the plane.
What must have been the state of this guy in the plane?
Mate, he must have been bad. Must have been.
Yeah, I've been on a couple Ryanair flights where I've seen people next to me go, you could probably do with stop drinking now.
Yeah, 100%. Well, they're actually calling for like a 2-drink maximum in all airports.
I think that's good sense. Why would you get drunk on a plane? Why?
I know there's not much to do, but I mean, between Ireland and Lanzarote, what's that, like a 2.5-hour flight or something like that? What is it? Tenerife, is that?
Just take a nap, bro. Take a nap.
But I fully agree with it. I think Ryanair...
Me too.
I think the fact that Ryanair put this on their social media is just so cool.
Yeah.
Because it just really brings a realism to the fact that your actions will now have direct consequences.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of brings this element that you've never seen before from Ryanair. At least I've never seen before from Ryanair.
It's just transparency as well.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they've gone, oh, this is a legal matter. We're going to, to come out and say, I'm going to sue one of my customers, which is kind of what they've said. This guy paid to be on there. Obviously, he's got drunk and he deserves it all. But they've just come out and gone, no, we're not going to tolerate it. And they've gone fully transparent with essentially something that you'd think it would be bad for marketing, but it's probably better. But it's really, really interesting. I thought it was cool.
That's crazy.
Some quite interesting things going on.
15 grand, that's crazy.
15 grand, yeah. More than his €35 ticket, I imagine.
That's more than some people's cars commission.
Yeah, exactly. Well, coming on to that, there's interesting developments in the car finance world. Well, kind of the car finance world in the sense that it's all about the FCA now. Well, from what I wanted to speak to you about, and what's actually happening is really stinky. The red flags have gone up over the past couple of weeks because just before Christmas we did what's called the Freedom of Information Request Act, and what the FCA have done, and I think they've shot themselves in the foot here, is they've gone out and in all of these consultations and all of these press releases and statements that they've done, they've constantly said that they've consulted with 63 firms. So they've said, they've formed this opinion and they've got all of this information in regards to car finance because they've asked 63 different firms for their opinion on various different things within sort of the car finance mis-selling scandal and car finance claims. So we wrote to them at the start of, maybe end of November, start of December. And Kevin Durkin at HD Law wrote to them under the Freedom of Information Act, which basically allows you to say, under the Freedom of Information Act, you're a government body. I want to know where this information has come from that you've referenced in a public document. So we wrote to them and said, who are the 63 firms? Because it's not Sentinel Legal, who have got a lot of car finance claims. It's not HD Law, who have got a lot of car finance claims and they've won in the Court of Appeal, now going to the Supreme Court. It's none of the other firms that we talk to on a weekly basis who are also doing car finance claims. So, and it's not any of the consumer rights groups that we speak to.
Right.
So who is it? Who are the 63 firms? Because everyone that we're speaking to hasn't been approached by the FCA to provide any form of information.
Pretty big number.
63 firms.
Yeah.
You would assume that they would want to speak to the people on the other side from the consumer's perspective that for the information. I mean, we've got so much information that we've tried to give them numerous times and they're just not interested. So anyway, we wrote to them and they responded literally last week. And they basically said, no, we're not going to give you that information.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Rachel. They basically hid behind a load of nonsense, for want of a better word, to say that if they were to name the firms, it would be treated as insider information. It would be in breach of sort of markets and regulation acts, and they haven't got the explicit permission of the firms to release their names. We're asking for the names of the firms.
Yeah, you're taking this too far, bro.
But also, you're making it look really obvious that there's something going on here.
You're hiding something.
So let me find the exact wording because it was ridiculous. They said.
So what happens in this case? So what they don't want to give out information that should. I mean, I'm not saying it should be public, but why would you be hiding it if nothing actually went down, like nothing went wrong?
Yeah, unless the 63 firms that you've interviewed and spoke to in your consultation period are not anything to do with consumers and they're just banks and car finance lenders.
Yeah.
To which you would then be completely biased. You would not be able to form an accurate opinion of the market because you've not spoke to the people in the trenches who are getting lied to every single day. So they came back and they said the reasons provided. This is what we've gone back because we want them to do a internal review as to why they are not supplying this information.
Right.
And we spoke to them and said the reasons provided for withholding this information, such as confidentiality under Section 348 of the Financial Services and Marketing Act and the Market Abuse Regulation are unconvincing and do not align with the transparency expected in a public consultation process. Because they're all about transparency and, you know, they write to everyone to submit consultations, and when you're at the bottom of the consultation, they ask if you can name them and all of this sort of stuff. So everyone's constantly contributing to the FCA, but apparently this static figure of 63 firms that apparently have contributed to the FCA to form their opinion, they're not allowed to name them. But in every other consultation for car finance, all of the consumer-focused groups, literally, and I mean anyone who's even looked at a car finance ad seems to throw their oar in and go, yeah, I'm going to reply to this consultation, is named on the very last piece of paper.
Yeah.
So if that's the active group of consumer advocates in the market who have already voluntarily said that they are happy to be named in all of these consultations, there's been about 4 last year, why would this 63 firms not be named? Because you'd assume that within that 63 firms, they make up at least a small percentage of the people who have already consulted with and given their permission to be named.
Mm-hmm. What is your take on this? What do you think?
I think they're lying. I think the FCA are doing a massive cover up, and they're basically saying that all of the 63 firms that they've consulted with, they're trying to imply that they've consulted with the consumer part of the market, but in actual fact, all they've done is speak to car finance lenders. I'm going to bring up their exact response now, because it is really shocking, you know, to consider, you know, a law firm's done a Freedom of Information request out to the FCA, which is a public body. You know, they're there to represent the consumer, and someone like Sentinel Legal or HD Law has written to them saying, just tell us who they are. Just tell us. Mm-hmm. You know, we want to know who is speaking on behalf of the consumer, because apparently it's not us. Apparently it's not HD Law, and apparently it's not anyone else in the market that's currently doing car finance claims. So tell us who the 63 firms are, because we want to make sure that they're accurately representing the client and what's going on. No. Yeah. So they wrote to me on...
Well, that's basically lying, right?
Yeah.
Avoidance of information is lying.
They put... So I wrote to them under the guise of Martin Lewis on his program. He quoted a load of figures that I didn't know where he'd got them from. One of them was like, law firms are charging 50% fees or 40% fees. Another one was that this woman had rang up and she'd had a claim done by a claims management company, and they didn't do anything with it and whatever. So I asked, I said, you know, who's provided Martin with this information? Because you guys were sat on the program, and I can only assume it was you. So they came back and said, you know, details of FCA provided information, guidance or documentation shared with Martin Lewis and the MSC team in relation to motor finance claims, including any materials explicitly prepared for these shows. That's what I said. We can confirm that, apart from directing the producers of the shows to our recent press release and our consumer page, we have not shared with Martin Lewis or the MSC team any information, guidance or documentation produced explicitly in expectation of whatever. So I then said, right, specific case details, the name or identification of the claims management company referenced in relation to the 40% fees, the origin of the client who was mentioned as complaining about the 40% fee, and then confirmation of whether this client submitted a claim and the details of that claim, including any follow-up actions or outcomes, to which they responded, we can confirm that we do not hold this information as the FCA did not provide this to Martin Lewis. Okay, fair enough. Let's... be good if Martin Lewis would tell us about that. Martin, let us know where that information came from, please, mate. If you would be so kind. Right, firms consulted by the FCA. So I asked, please can I have the identities of the 63 firms consulted regarding car finance claim? Copies of all minutes, notes, or other records of discussion or communications with these firms. Mm-hmm. Should be a pretty easy, you know, the FCA, if task. They're doing consultations, straightforward task, here you go. We can confirm that we hold information that falls within the scope of your request. Okay, brilliant. I was hoping you would. However, we are prohibited from disclosing it to you because it is or contains confidential information for the purposes of Section 34A of the Financial Services and Markets Act 2000. and which the FCA has received in the discharge of its public functions. In addition, we consider that the requested information constitutes inside information as defined in the Market Abuse Act. Therefore, for the reasons set out in Annex A below, we are prohibited from disclosing it to you under Section 44, prohibitions on disclosure of FOIA. And then it says your right to complain. And it just says, yeah, we've got all this information, we're not going to give it you. What I don't quite understand, FCA, is inside information. What? I've asked for the names of the firms, for one. Okay, so that's one separate point. Can you provide me with the names? What inside information is that? That's a public company. It's probably on company's house. What part of that, what can I do with that information that would constitute inside information?
It's not any different from you Googling it yourself and finding out.
Yeah, it's like saying, oh, it was McDonald's. Okay.
Cool.
What can I do with that? McDonald's. Okay, they're advising the FCA. Weird that there are burger restaurants advising the FCA, but yeah, cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you think that's the main reason why they're not telling you the names, is because they have nothing to do with this industry?
No, I think they're not telling us the names because all of the names will be car finance lenders. I think they'll go, yeah, we've consulted with every single car finance lender and got their opinion, but we're not bothered about the consumer's opinion. Yeah. I think that's what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Because why else would he? If it was an equal split of lenders and consumers, which you would assume it would be, why would they not want to release those names? Because it just proves they're being transparent and doing their research properly. The second one is copies of all minutes, notes, and other records of discussions or communications with these firms. Now, I could probably get on board with part of that being classed as insider information. Yeah. But if you're doing a consultation with anyone, then surely the questions are exactly the same. Mm-hmm. You know, I wouldn't ask 10 people 10 different questions on a topic. I would ask them all of the same question, as they do in any consultation process that we've had from the FCA. Everyone responds to the same set of questions. So they're, okay, just give me the questions. No, that's not insider information.
I suppose that's what allows you to do like a real investigation.
Yeah.
Same structure, same questions, different people.
Different people, different responses, different experiences, and that's how you do your investigation. So again, yeah, they've confirmed that they hold the information which falls within the scope of my request, but I can't have it. And what it's quite interesting because I got this message. Kevin Durkin got a very similar one, and he's actually triggered an investigation as well. But what's happened now is that the Financial Times came out on, let me find the date of the article. Financial Times came out on the 7th of January. Mm-hmm. And the title was of the article was UK financial regulator failed to uphold rules for handling freedom of information requests, review fines. Report calls for Financial Conduct Authority staff to be retrained and adds to mounting criticism of Watchdog. So it seems like I thought, okay, there's definitely a massive red flag going up here for car finance claims and the transparency. But it seems this is a wider issue across the FCA, which again is designed to be protecting the consumers and transparent and doing actions that look after people and are in the best interest of the people. They can't even answer basic questions by the looks of it. We found. So
what's going to happen from here? Is it going to be like an ongoing process of reaching out to them back and forth to see if they finally disclose this information, or?
Well, I think like the article suggests, it sounds like they need to be retrained as to, how to properly divulge the information that they've got. We've triggered this investigation now, and if the investigation doesn't result in them coming back to us with at least the names, I'll be shocked, because surely someone's misinterpreting this information and misinterpreting this definition of insider information.
Yeah.
But I suppose the point being made is that this looks like conspiracy theory territory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Area 51.
Yeah. Play some of that music.
Yeah. But it just is another element to this massive thing that we call car finance claims that people just don't seem to get. On all sides of the aisle, people just seem to think, oh, it's car finance claims. You send a letter of complaint. Yeah, the FCA have done all of this. Martin Lewis has done all of it. No, it's another string to the bow to say, what are you hiding? What is the FCA now hiding, if anything? Hopefully this is an admin error and they've not disclosed it just because of someone's not trained to properly decipher the request. But again, there was all of that problems with the redactions that we discussed, all of the problems with the lying on emails, all of the problems with the judges, all of the problems with the barristers not understanding. Now the FCA won't give simple information in regards to who they've asked for information from the car finance industry, consumers or lenders. Then, okay, is this more cover-ups?
Yeah, I think this is a shame. This is because the outcome, the truth will come out eventually. So they're just slowing the process of these people being handed back their money.
They're just making everything stink, and I think they're painting a real big target on the back to go, okay, so you guys work for the banks then, because that's where you start to think. Your mind starts to go, oh, okay, well, is the regulator, got something to lose here? Is there someone within the FCA that works for the car finance? Where does your mind go? Where does the conspiracy theory stop?
Did they have to disclose the fact that it was 63 companies?
No, they didn't even have to mention it. I mean, it would have come up to say, okay, yeah, who are you speaking to? Who are you speaking to in the market? Because we want to make sure you're getting the right information. But I don't think they have thought this through. To say 63 firms, someone's going to ask you who it is.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy.
But yeah, that's all it was.
Yeah. Anything else going on in the industry?
No, I mean, we'll come back. Obviously, trying to do these podcasts once a week now. We've had a lot of pre-action disclosures that I'm going to talk about. I think we had 54 new judgments in yesterday in our favour on pre-action disclosure, so we can go into that in the next episode. I've not gone through them all just yet, but I'm sure there'll be something quite interesting. And for anyone who doesn't know what a pre-action disclosure application is, that is basically asking for all of the information before you issue on a case in court so that you don't take up the court's time. But what this is actually giving to us, and what has become really interesting, is we're now getting the introducer agreement between the car finance lender and the car dealership. And it tells us all the commissions.
Which before wasn't the thing, right?
Yeah, well, it was. Remember on the previous episode when we talked about the redactions, we were getting those, but they were so heavily redacted. Now, because of the win rate that we've got and all of the information that we're specifically asking for, so the specific screens, we do these under a pad application now, and the judge has basically said, yep, they should have all of this information. So we received 54 of them yesterday.
Wow.
We've got well over 400 now, but these 54 ones are quite special because they're different lenders that are a bit more unique that we've not got that much information on. So that'll be an interesting episode.
Yeah, it's cool to see all this information slowly unfolding in real time. I think it's definitely gonna be something cool to look back in the future.
Yeah, I think it's a good, it's good that we want to put this out there because there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of people who don't realize how much are going on. So you could just listen to this and go,
listen to what's been happening. Sentinel Legal in the trenches.
Yeah, well, I wish I had this. If I was first getting into car finance claims by then, this would have been
unbelievable,
invaluable.
Yeah.
So, the whole point of this podcast is to be as transparent as possible, so that no one makes any mistakes.
Yeah.
Because the big mistakes impact the wider industry. So this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. This is what we found. This is the problem. This is our opinion. Go away and form your own opinion.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I'll see you next week.
Next week.
We need an outro.
Joe Rogan Podcast.